Just in case you're wondering why I look the same in every video this month, it's because I did all of my intros and outros on the same day. So now let's talk about today's video. Have you ever made a magnesium recovery spray that looks fine at first and then it turns cloudy, starts separating, or your sprayer clogs like it's full of wet sand? Or worse, it stings, it leaves this sticky, weird film that makes you want to wash it off? Here's the problem. Most magnesium spray failures aren't because magnesium is tricky, they're because the solubilizer choice is wrong for what's actually in the bottle. People, they toss in random solubilizers, give it a shake, and then they think that it's done. And that's exactly how you get haze, fallout, separation, and clogged pumps. Today, I'm going to show you the real solubilizer mistake that breaks these sprays, what it does to clarity and performance, and a simple way to build a magnesium recovery spray that stays clear, sprays clean, and feels better on your skin without playing ingredient roulette. Let's get into it. If you've ever made a magnesium recovery spray that looks fine and then turns hazy, separates, or starts clogging the sprayer, it's usually not the magnesium. The real problem is this. You've got a high salt water system. This formula is mostly magnesium brine plus water. And then you're asking that salty water to hold on to something that doesn't belong in water, like fragrance or essential oils. A lot of people try to fix that by adding the oil straight into the batch and hoping it behaves. Then they toss in a solubilizer and shake it, like that's the same thing as solubilizing. That's the solubilizer mistake. Wrong order, wrong ratio, or no premix, so the oil never gets captured fully. And a salty base is less forgiving than a normal body mist, so the failure shows up fast. Here's what that solubilizer mistake looks like in real life. First, you'll see cloudiness. That's tiny droplets floating around, not a properly solubilized solution. Then you get a ring at the top, floaters, or a film that keeps coming back after every shake. And in a spray bottle, that turns into the biggest headache. The sprayer starts clogging. Those droplets collect at the dip tube and nozzle, so the bottle starts sputtering, spitting, or refusing to mist. So, the product doesn't just look messy, it delivers system fails, and the user experience is compromised. The fix is simple, but it has to be done on purpose. In this formula, the solubilizer is polysorbate 20, and the scent is lavender essential oil. The move is pre-mix the solubilizer with the oil first until it gets completely clear. Then you add that premix into the batch first, so the scent is already captured before it hits the brine. That's what prevents haze and keeps the spray behaving like a spray. And we're supporting feel and consistency with humectants and comfort helpers like propanediol, glycerin, and betaine. In a minute, I'll show you exactly what the premix should look like, when to add it, and the quick checks that confirm that it stays solubilized. All right, now that you know what's actually breaking these magnesium sprays, we're going to build it the right way. The goal isn't just to add a solubilizer. The goal is to lock the scent into a stable premix before it ever touches a salty magnesium base, so we don't get that haze, separation, or a sprayer that clogs after 2 days. So I'm going to take you over to the bench, show you the exact order that matters, what the premix should look like when it's truly solubilized, and then we're going to finish the batch and bottle it so that it stays clean and sprays clear. Let's formulate. Before we even touch the main batch, we're going to be making the magnesium brine, because if your brine isn't fully dissolved and clear, you're basically just manufacturing future grit and future clogs. And let's dispel the myth right now, right off the bat. Let me be brief and very clear. Heating your water does not degrade magnesium chloride in cosmetic processing. What people confuse is the loss of water of hydration at extreme industrial temperatures versus normal cosmetic heating, whether it's warm or hot water. You are nowhere near temperatures that would chemically decompose magnesium chloride in a cosmetic lab. Warm or hot water is normal, safe, and it's often very necessary to be able to dissolve that magnesium fully. So we're going to go ahead and take our deionized water, not distilled. I'm using deionized today. Don't worry, there's a long blog post coming out about different types of water to use in cosmetic formulations, and you can read all about that. It's just a personal preference, but today we're using deionized water. I'm going to put this on my hot plate and bring that up to around between 140 and 160. We're not going to boil it, but we are going to get this up to a temperature that can handle all of this magnesium, because we're making a 50-50 magnesium brine. Then we're going to use some of that brine in the formula today. Okay, once your water is heated up sufficiently, we're going to go ahead and just combine that magnesium chloride. We're going to mix it up, and we're going to let it sit here for a good half an hour. Keep in mind, I am making a 50-50 solution. You can do whatever you'd like. You could do 60-40, 70-30, whatever strength of magnesium brine you'd like. I don't sell this. I use this for myself personally. I like a strong brine. Start giving that a stir. Again, if anybody tries to tell you that magnesium chloride gets degraded by using warm or hot water, ask them to back up their sources, because that's completely untrue. If we were working in a professional laboratory with extreme temperatures, yeah, I'll give you that. It could start degrading, but we're never going to get anywhere near those temperatures. And so I can already see that the magnesium chloride flakes have dissolved. However, I want this to be clear. I want this solution to be clear, so I am going to go ahead and leave this sit here for a half an hour. Our magnesium brine is completely clear now, so we can go ahead and proceed. Just set that aside. We're going to take some more deionized water, or you can use distilled, whichever your preference is. So that's what our phase A is going to start with, our deionized water. And this is our base, so that everything dissolves cleanly and we don't invite extra minerals into an already mineral-heavy formula. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be adding is sodium citrate. Think of this as the structure for the water system. It supports a more comfortable, controlled environment, especially when we're adding a strong salt phase. Sodium citrate right in there. Tetrasodium EDTA is my metal ion insurance. It ties up trace metals that can mess with stability and preservation performance over time. Glycerin is your classic hydration support here. It's your humectant, and a salt-heavy spray. It also helps the feel, so the finish isn't as harsh or tight. Propanediol is another humectant, but it also behaves like a solvent helper. In sprays, it can even improve the glide and help the whole system feel more cosmetic instead of, you know, like a straight brine. Next, we're going to put in some betaine. This is an osmolite, and this is here specifically to comfort support in a high mineral formula. It's one of the ingredients that helps this to wear better on your skin. Ethoxydiglycol is a solvent, and in a spray format, this is going to support a more even application and helps the system behave better, especially once we add the scented premix. Next, we are going to be adding some DL-panthenol, and this is here for barrier support and feel. In a recovery style product, it's one of the ingredients that makes the spray feel more skin friendly over repeated use. And now I'm going to pop this on top of my hot plate just to help dissolve these powders on the bottom. It's only going to take a few seconds. Okay, it literally only took a few seconds to get the rest of those powders on the bottom all dissolved. And now we are ready to start adding the next couple of ingredients. I'm going to be adding some extracts. We're going to be doing holy basil. I make my extracts myself. So this is going to be used as a comfort support botanical. And I'm using this for the recovery part of the story. It's all about marketing, really, when you're telling stories. But it's also for the skin feel without making any medical claims. So we're going to put this up on top of our scale, and we're just going to measure out what we need here with the holy basil extract. You can use whatever extracts that you would like in your recovery spray. And I'm also going to be adding some arnica extract. Again, I make my own. This is the same idea. It's comfort support and a recovery vibe, you know. It's going to round out the concept of the product without turning this into a drug claim. All right, I'm done with the scale. Give that a nice stir. And now we're going to start adding, actually we're not done with the scale yet, because we're going to start adding that magnesium brine. Give that magnesium brine another stir, and then we're going to add how much we need. Nice and clear. All right, let's give this a good stir now. We're basically done. We're going to be adding our fragrance, which I have combined with polysorbate, and then our preservative, and we're going to call it a day. It's very easy to make. Make sure you mix this really well when you combine that magnesium, that brine. When you give it a nice, slow, steady mix, it's going to prevent, you know, salt concentration in any little spot here inside of the vessel. Keeps the batch uniform. Good 2-minute stir you want. All right, now that we have given that a really good mix, I've already gone ahead and combined my polysorbate 20 with my lavender essential oil, and you can see how crystal clear this is. So the polysorbate is the star of the story today, right? So its job is to capture oil and to make it behave in a water system, which is what this is, because oil and water don't magically get along just because you shook the bottle up, just like I said in the intro. And then the lavender oil is oil soluble. So if you dump it into your main batch without a proper premix, you're basically setting yourself up for cloudiness and sprayer drama, and we don't want that. So I have mixed the two of them. I didn't do it on camera just to save time. So I'm going to give this one little final mix, and then we're going to go ahead and add this premix into the main beaker while we're mixing. And because this oil is already captured, the lavender oil that is already captured inside of that polysorbate 20, it's going to disperse cleanly instead of forming droplets. All right, so let's go ahead and get that into the mix. All right, now that we have given this a really good mix, we are going to let this sit for a good half an hour. So keep in mind about your premix, your polysorbate 20 and your fragrance oil or your essential oil. So that's the test that you want to look for. So if it goes completely clear, you're good to go. If it goes hazy at this stage of the game, it's not going to behave once it hits that salty magnesium base. So mine was completely clear. My base is pretty much clear for the most part. There's a color to it because of the extracts that I used. So lastly, we're just going to go ahead and add our preservative. This goes in at the end. Sprays are high risk for contamination because the package is constantly handled, and the nozzle pathway is a perfect place for microbes to hang out. We're using Liquid Germal Plus today. Let's go ahead and check our pH now. We're targeting around 5.5 to a 6. All right, about 6.88. So I'm going to make my adjustments and bring that level down just a little bit. Okay, now that we have the pH dialed in, I'm just going to go ahead and cover this with a watch glass, and I'm going to leave it overnight. I'll bring you guys back in a second. It is the next day, and let's take a look at our mixture. It is completely clear. This is what we want. We want clear to slightly opalescent. If it's a little bit cloudy, that's okay. If it's noticeably cloudy, then your solubilization didn't actually hold. So here we go. Here's the finished product. Crystal clear. All we have left now to do is just go ahead and get it into our bottles. And so as you can see, this is crystal clear. There's no ring, even on the top of the beaker. Looks great. There's no floaters. There's no separation after it's been sitting overnight. And this is what you should walk away with, a magnesium recovery spray that doesn't fail. It fails when you treat solubilization like an afterthought. If you want a spray that stays clear, doesn't separate, and doesn't clog the sprayer, you have to do two things on purpose. Build a clean water base and premix your solubilizer with your oil until it's truly clear before it ever hits that salty magnesium system. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and share it so that more formulators can actually see this. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had a spray go cloudy or clog on you? And what solubilizer were you using? And if you want the full formula, percentages, and my exact process notes, check out the links below. And make sure that you're subscribed because we're staying in recovery style formulas this month, and I've got much more coming in the way of magnesium. Thanks for hanging out with me today at Creation Station, and I'll see you in the next formulation. If you're a YouTube channel member, the written formula and instructions are waiting for you in the description box. If you're not a member, you can also get this formula along with more than 100 others and all future releases by joining my Patreon, or you can pick it up individually in my Etsy shop. All the links are below. Choose what's right for you.